Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
We wish to be the captains of our own soul and destiny, free will given to us by the God of good. But the devils of control wish to end our free will and create an artificial consciousness, a programmable biological android race, a trophy to their victory against the species, as if they came from trillions of miles away from dark stars in the nebula of the Horsehead. But no, they came from our own planet, twisted and evil, turned over to the cheater's heart through their weakness. Destined to fall from the foundations of the earth. Let's go ahead and go back to Telly Blackwood. Telly, you've got the floor for the last 4 minutes of this segment. Tell us about some of the media stuff you're doing, where this is going. But first, why do you think they wanted to come to you and ask you about Alex Jones and say you're being watched when you've just entered some of our contests? We've interviewed you 4 or 5 times, like your work. I think it's just to intimidate you and to get the message to me.
I think it was mainly a get the message to you kind of thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure they would know you guys the first person.
I didn't know there was a tyranny and they diesel people to death in federal vehicles and that they torture kids and run snuff film operations. I didn't know they could kill me and my family. I'm so scared now. I didn't know they were evil, Telly.
Well, the funny thing is, other than the guy talking in the suit, he was the only one that said any words. 2 big thugs that sat there and snarled. But yeah, I guess they're in the black fatigues, not armed. It's plain black, fatigues with the boots and, short trimmed hair. All they did is kind of have their hands on their hip or crossed behind their back and just sort of snarled and tried to stare at me, not even blink the whole time. I had a lot of military in the family and everything, so I'm not really that intimidated by someone just staring at me. You know what I mean? But it's the fact, though, coming in and try to, at first I thought it was a joke, to be honest. I'm like, what is going on here? Okay, where's the camera? Where's someone?
Yeah, no, that's the problem, is them bugging their eyes out at you and radiating. They want to just rip your head off. I mean, they had this, the ATF came here one time, and there was this one really, big guy, you could tell, he was like solid muscle, and he was just going, just looking at me, just, and I'm just like, it's just like, God, the dishonor of these people. I mean, the dishonor, they're so weak. They think evil is powerful. They worship at that dark throne. Go ahead.
I think I've been a wrestler for a lot of years. Seen a lot bigger, meaner people than those guys. So them snarling at me, I was kind of...
They all cry for their mama in the end.
Yeah, everybody does. And we all go the same way and bleed the same color and everything. So, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I know it's an intimidation thing. I know they're trying to get the message to you, or... Like I was telling Biggs on Facebook, I was saying, it almost feels too perfect. It's almost like they want me to go and talk to you guys and get this on there. What's the thought behind that? I'm trying to be paranoid and try to...
No, they think we're all cowards. They think everybody will hear this and get scared. That's the whole thing. Better not listen to Alex Jones. Better not be involved. Why? They just lowered the borders completely. They're coming after our guns. If we don't expose it, then we lose everything. That's the thing. I'm not a hero. Telly, you're not either. We have to stand up against this. I mean, they're arresting Tea Party people. They're arresting Dinesh D'Souza. The IRS is going after Christian groups.
And look at Eric Holder putting his little Homeland Terrorist Task Force together at FEMA camp. The NDA. What do people think that's for? It's not for good television. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think this is happening for?
Exactly. Tell us about the new show you're going to launch and the website with the news articles you're writing. You're welcome to write for us, but go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I'd love to do that. I started a little news line called Blackwood Says. I'd also like to get a little podcast together.
Sure, give us the web address of your articles.
Articles, I believe it is newsvine.com/Blackwood Says.
So Blackwood Says. We're going to talk to you again soon. Thanks for coming on. Please do a YouTube video or something reporting what happened to you so it's all concise. And we're riding along with you, brother. It's a good thing they showed up. They don't like the fact we're exposing that terrorists took over the government and that Homeland Security runs Al-Qaeda. We'll be back. Stay with us. We are witnessing total and complete lawlessness by the federal government. We've had her set up for a week. She's launching another big initiative. Last time she did it with Subway. They took the plastic additive out of their bread. Now, a lot of other fast food places haven't done it, but she targeted Subway. They took it out. They said, we'll do it within 2 months, and then 2 months later, it's now out. That's great. I'd love to be able, when I'm out on the road, there's no really good food anywhere. You might be able to find a Subway. I'd like to be able to go to a Subway and not eat the food and not get a headache an hour later, a hangover. There's the headline, Subway to remove dough conditioner chemical from bread. So there's an example, and she launched that on our show a few months ago and other shows, but it was launched here, and it was successful. So in the midst of all this evil, we're just here showing you the power of the people. The beer companies, the big ones, are putting some really bad stuff in the beer. And the way she does this is we could all learn from it, because it's true. You target one company, and then that gets their attention, and then the whole industry has to change when one does it. If you just say, oh, the fast food industry is using these emulsifiers for fluffing in the bread and to make it last longer, that's a plastic precursor, really bad for you, also associated with infertility, no duh. That is such a cheesy 80s saying, no duh. Did I just say that? I thought it was cheesy when I was in 5th grade or 6th grade. The whole point here, ladies and gentlemen, is that we can affect things by voting with our dollars, voting with our euros, voting with our yen, our yuan. And if we change the way we live, even slowly, it will be so fulfilling each little step we take that we'll want to take more and more steps. So that's what I've done with myself, losing 50-plus pounds. I mean, I got big, folks, 279 pounds. I'm down to like 225 pounds. Now I intend to lose another 25 pounds. But I can stand in front of the mirror now and barely have a little pot belly. When I'm standing up, it's not even there. I mean, it is less than a third of the size it was. And it's with the same moderate exercise and with trying to eat organic and not eating any junk and not overeating and taking the right supplements. And it's just, I can still work. I can still play hard. I can do everything. And it's just been incremental, and I've done it. It's taken a couple of years, and I intend to go all the way. Slow and easy wins the race. So don't think it's insurmountable being out of shape or whatever. I mean, Ted Anderson. And then I'm getting into the massive news, and our guest is joining us. And I hate to tell the story, but he says, no, please tell it. I want to help other people. Ted Anderson, I've known for 19 years, worked for him for 17 years, and he owns the radio network I'm on. So I guess I work for him in that capacity through that deal. And I've met his folks before up at the office up there. It's beautiful, right between Minneapolis and St. Paul. And his dad couldn't go fishing anymore, couldn't go hunting, didn't know who he was. So we got him on Beyond Tangy Tangerine. This is just, I didn't mean to plug something, but the truth also helps fund us. I might as well while I tell the story. Just an example of health. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0, totally organic, available at InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsTeam.com. Discounted. You can get free shipping when you sign up for AutoShip. And his dad, after 2 months on Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the 90 essential vitamins and minerals and trace elements, the government only says you need, 60 or something. It's actually 90 for it all to work together. And his dad went on it, and he's told the testimony, and his dad knew who he was again, had his short-term and long-term memory back, and basically wasn't even senile. It was just, but his doctor tested his blood and said, we got you on Coumadin, even though you've never had a stroke or heart attack. And what are you on to have vitamin K in your blood? I've told you don't eat spinach and stuff. He goes, I take this stuff my son gives me. I got to get Ted on with an update on this. And within a month of being off Beyond Tangy Tangerine, he used to have open sores on his arms like so many other people have. That's scurvy. It's your body falling apart because it's not absorbing vitamin C anymore. You need it in liquid high dosages. That's all the medical research. Linus Pauling got a Nobel Prize for it. His dad basically had scurvy, folks. Don't eat these green vegetables because that'll do stuff to your blood along because you're already on Coumadin. We thin your blood with this, so don't have vitamin K because it thins your blood naturally. What? Take the drug, but not the natural thing. Don't eat spinach Take a blood thinner. But now you can't have spinach because you take the blood thinner. And within a month, his dad didn't know who he was again. That was like a year ago. I hate to even ask. In fact, let's set Ted up in the next few days. If he'll come on and talk about it, I mean, it's just wild. And his mom said, no, we'll do what the doctor says, because it's like a high priest. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0, InfoWarsHealth.com. InfoWarsLife.com. Or call 888-789-9277, 888-789-9277, and they can help you get signed up if you want to be a distributor and get big discounts on that, or if you just want to buy. And that helps support the broadcast as well. 2.0 Citrus Peach Fusion. They have the original Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the Pollen Burst Plus, and more. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I didn't mean to do that plug. I was talking about getting emulsifiers out of the bread. McDonald's still has it in their chicken McNuggets. It's the precursor of silicone. And, you know, it's just like, it's literally like taking your kids to Moloch and sacrificing them to the fiery altar. But instead you sacrifice your, you know, your dad gets sacrificed to the doctor. What's this vitamin K is up in your blood? Well, you told you, are you eating green vegetables? Well, I told you not to. You're on blood thinner. Yeah, don't thin your blood with a vegetable naturally. I mean, it's just, it's so crazy. Glyphosates cause, on record, estrogen-related tumors to grow. That's mainline literature for 20 years. You know, they make movies about it with George Clooney. And still, they say, why is breast cancer exploding? And you look at countries that introduce Roundup, suddenly their breast cancer goes off the chart. Their pancreatic cancer goes off the chart. Their prostate cancer goes off the chart. And everybody just keeps saying, give more money, pink. I'll be at a restaurant. I'll be at the store buying something, buying a water hose. You know, would you like to give 10% of your bill extra for the breast cancer? I'll be at a restaurant. Would you like a pink martini for women's breast cancer? No. They'll look at you unapprovingly. Why? Don't you care? It's all this guilt culture using our goodwill. And I'll start giving them a speech. I'll go, you know the weed killer is the main cause of the increase of breast cancer. You know I've got daughters and a mother and a grandmother and a wife and all these people that I don't want to die or have their breasts chopped off. Don't act like I don't care with your fake guilt, which you've been programmed to shovel on me. And I'm called a terrorist and an extremist because I talk about it. Monsanto has settled for decades of dumping dioxin directly into creeks in a whole subsections of Anniston, Alabama, running directly into the blacks' well water. And then the numbers are just off the chart. Basically, everybody dies of cancer. And they knew, and they just dumped it right into the water. After all, it's just a bunch of black people. You know how evil Monsanto is, ladies and gentlemen? Their own engineers, CBC, BBC report in 1999, their own people will not eat GMO at their laboratory cafeterias. These people are crazy. They don't care the nuclear reactors are leaking all over the country now. No one cares about it. They're nuts. And let me tell you something. If Obama tries a gun registration and they start SWAT teaming people that won't register, or they start witch hunts like they're already doing, it's going to cause the patriots to fight back, and then you will have them bill gun owners as terrorists, and folks, we're off to the races. And this is the false flag. The Civil War is the false flag. They know that the patriots are going to completely annihilate the police and military long term. And they know the military is going to go to a fortress mentality, take over the cities, and they got martial law right there, shutting off the rural communities. Here's Obama one more time. Obama claims gun violence Off the charts, president ignores drop in gun crime, applauds Australian gun confiscation. Headline up on Infowars.com.
My biggest frustration so far is the fact that this society has not been willing to take some basic steps to keep guns out of the hands of people who can do just unbelievable damage. We're the only society, we're the only developed country on earth where this happens, and it happens now once a week, and it's a one-day story. There's no place else like this. A couple of decades ago, Australia had a mass shooting, similar to Columbine or Newtown. And Australia just said, well, that's it. We're not seeing that again. And basically imposed very severe, tough gun laws, and they haven't had a mass shooting since. I mean, our levels of gun violence are off the charts. There's no advanced, developed country on earth that would put up with this. All
right. I mean, how do you analyze? I'm skipping the network break. How do you analyze a 1-minute clip of pure lies like that? People aren't buying it, Bud, because the mainstream media is dead. Nietzsche was wrong. God ain't dead. The mainstream media is, just like the Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's dead. And you just hadn't figured it out yet. The Pentagon came out and did admit it. They're running CIA psyops now. They're desperate, and they understand they're done. They want to bring in internet censorship. That's their new big game plan. But they banned everything down to single shots, and you got to have a license for that in rural areas. And they basically have banned, you name it, crime has exploded in Australian cities, mugging, stabbing, just like they have in England. Their crime rate's up over 10-fold. Look it up. You are 5 times more likely anywhere in England, you can look these numbers up, to be mugged than you are in the United States. London is more dangerous than Chicago to be mugged, stabbed, beat over the head, killed, raped. If you fight back, they prosecute you. I mean, that's famous. They're trying to ban butcher knives now in England and the rest of the UK. Switzerland, everyone has to own guns by law, and they have grenade launchers at local caches in case the country ever gets overrun for the citizens to get. And no one's shooting or having grenade attacks. They have the lowest crime rate in the world. Now mugging is worse in London than in Harlem. London Daily Mail. See, told you. I told you about Anniston, Alabama, and they pulled up the articles and the statistics and the settlements. I mean, I'm not making any of this up. If you're a TV viewer, you can see them in live time. This is not scripted. They search engine everything I say, and there it is, okay? I mean, I don't make stuff up, okay? I don't have time to go in and tell you how the Port Arthur massacre was totally staged with a mind control wind-up toy. Multiple shooters, whole 9 yards. I mean, Anderson Cooper's been standing at the CNN Center saying he's in Sandy Hook, and his nose disappears. It's blue screen. I don't know what went on there, but it's fake. And top school security people that have run major universities and been national, been on Nightline and Good Morning America have come out and said it's fake. Wolfgang Halbig. And he has feds and you name it come to his house and say, stop investigating. You better watch it. Why would they want him to stop investigating if he's a kook? No, he's a German who immigrated here as a child and became an American and loves his country. And is an American. He's not a coward. That's who Wolfgang Halbig is. Just a man. And they're scared, and they should be. Because, listen, there's a million Wolfgang Halbigs coming. There's a million Alex Joneses coming. There's a million Jakari Jacksons coming. There's a million Telly Blackwoods coming. There's a million Adon Salazars coming. There's a million Paul Watsons coming and Ehan Watsons. You're not going to stop us. We want freedom. It's what we're meant to have. You've got to drive our humanity out of us and make us have a death wish so that we give up and don't care about ourselves and don't have any faith in ourselves. I mean, here's the man who runs Chicago, the murder capital of the world. The murder capital country is Mexico. Highest number of murders, look it up, in the world, 7 years running, Mexico. But there's no city in Mexico that has upwards of 15 gun deaths a week and 30-plus shootings per weekend like Chicago year-round. And again, it's the poor, controlled sectors of Chicago that run by the Democratic Mafia that have the high crime. You go to places right next door or suburbs where they have guns, the crime rate goes to some of the lowest in the country. Where you have welfare and the government system in Chicago, it'll be hell on earth and a mile away, low crime rate. Because there's law-abiding people, good people there, and they have guns illegally. And 5 years ago, the Supreme Court ordered them to let the citizens be armed, and they've not allowed them to be armed in Chicago lawlessly, just like they're lawlessly opening the borders up. And the media is going, jeepers, creepers. Why on earth? You know, are there hundreds of thousands of illegals a month pouring in now and military bases full of them? Because they legalize them when they get here and give them welfare, and Obama's advertised that, and the country's collapsing. There's 7 billion people trying to get here. No country in history, and by the way, libertarians, I'm a real libertarian, okay, constitutionalist, and I'm going to go into our guest. But libertarians send me emails, and I see, you know, Reason and others go, Alex Jones and people want statist borders. You know, but I thought you don't like the police state. Why do you want a border then? Because if we didn't have welfare in this country, and you couldn't come here and have your baby for free that's $30,000, and it wasn't advertised in Mexican newspapers by U.S. hospitals 20 years ago, still going, it's in the news today, come here and have your baby for free. Put your kid on a plane. If they get off, they'll give them a lawyer, they're legal. You can't say, oh, we're going to be wide open and free when you're surrounded by unfree, failed countries. Mexico is a failed state. You can't even go to Cancun safely now. There's a State Department warning on it. They can't even keep the rich tourist districts owned by the narcotics trafficking government safe. And the new bureaucrat class for the military and social services is going to be illegal aliens. That's in the Washington Times. They're now making them police officers, sheriff's deputies, military. That's the main minority force. By minority force, it's all minorities. By minorities, white, whatever. It's all subgroups in the military. But the largest one group, none of them are a majority, is illegals that were legalized into the U.S. military. This is globalism. We're being conquered. It has nothing to do with the fact that Latinos are coming into this country. That's the majority. That's just because that's the failed third world south of us, and we're now being failed as our power plants are turned off, as the taxes are raised, as the small businesses are shut down. The plan is to implode the country. But we can fight back, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why they're panicking. The blue blood, evil Republican leadership that helped write Obamacare as a giant scam to cheat and raise payroll taxes on poor people and set up death panels. House Majority Leader Cantor defeated in primary by Libertarian Tea Party candidate. Now, we've got her for the balance of the hour. I really appreciate her coming on, shifting gears into a whole other subject, but it's on the issue of taking action and winning. Is our guest, Vani Hari, FoodBabe.com, who you've seen all over national television. Very lovely, super smart lady. And she's launched a lot of initiatives. The most recent was, well, I'll let her tell you about it. Now she's launching another one with hopefully great success like the other initiatives. And it's a blueprint for all of us to have victory over our food supply, our water, and have the right to have access to things free from toxic chemicals, mind and body bending systems. So tell us what's coming up in the next long segment. Thank you so much for coming on, and we salute your work.
Thank you so much, Alex, for having me join. You know, I launched the Subway petition here a few months ago and won that within 24 hours. Now, I think this petition is going to be a longer fight because I am talking about secrets that have been held for decades from the beer industry. The beer industry right now is not allowed are not required, rather, to disclose the ingredients in beer. However, the government allows a long list of controversial additives in beer. And so this secrecy and this mystery has to end. The fact that nobody has held these companies accountable in recent years, I think is a big issue. And I think that as, 4th of July comes up and everybody goes around the grills and starts celebrating the holiday and starts throwing back Miller Lite and Bud Light and Miller Coors and Anheuser-Busch brands, I think people need to realize they have no idea what they're drinking. We've been blindly drinking beer and not knowing what these companies are putting in our beer. And some of the things I've found out are downright shocking.
Well, they use it for social control, and Anheuser-Busch isn't even beer. For about 15 years, it's actually a chemical syrup. So folks need to understand, the reason I don't ever drink American beer now, unless it's from a microbrewery, is because it's not beer. You drink German or Mexican because they follow the old brewmaster things of England and Germany. And so I'm sure you're the big expert. Tell us about it when we come back. But this is the secrets of beer. Would you call it the beer conspiracy or fake beer conspiracy?
I think it's like the big beer cover-up, The big beer
cover-up. Bingo.
We're drinking in the dark.
Yeah, well, all I know is when they changed the Budweiser recipe when I was in college, I got headaches when I drank it. And then I went and looked it up a while back, and oh, guess what? It's not Budweiser. All right, we'll be right back, folks. Stay with us. I mean, they're just jacking with everything. Stay with us. Army and Air Force recruits. We've got our reporters digging into this, are being told their next stop will be Russia. Unprecedented evil going on, ladies and gentlemen. But it's all okay because Obama's black and it's trending. Fund al-Qaeda to attack Syria for 3 years. Then al-Qaeda attacks Iraq. Got to take American liberties because of the al-Qaeda threat. I'm Wolf Blitzer reporting from the Central Intelligence Agency, CNN. All right, I'm going to stop right there. We're talking to the FoodBabe right now, foodbabe.com. Vani Hari, and she started it back in 2011 and has had a great effect with her victories, thanks to you out there, our victories across the board. Talk about what you've done with Chick-fil-A, Kraft, Whole Foods, Lean Cuisine, McDonald's, General Mills, Coca-Cola, Chipotle, and many others. I mean, this is really a good tactic you're using. How did you learn and develop all this? And then let's get into the secrets of beer.
Yeah, so, I was like a sick child growing up my whole life. My parents had come here from India, didn't know how to cook American food, and they wanted me to fit in like everybody else. So what did we do? We bought the packaged processed goods at the grocery store that are full of corn and soy and no nutritional value. We ate McDonald's for lunch, for dinner, for breakfast. I mean, I don't know how many Father's Days we went to McDonald's for their free breakfast. I don't know if they still do that or not, but we used to go every single year growing up, and Father's Day is coming up, and it just reminds me of that time period where, if you do like a little coloring for your dad, you get a free,
Totally sick ploy, like crack dealers trying to give crack to 10-year-olds at the playground.
Exactly. And, I grew up that way, and it was so detrimental to my health. I suffered asthma, eczema as a child, never felt well, always had stomach aches, and then when I graduated college and got into the real world and started living this rat race environment, working for a big 6 consulting firm in a cubicle, traveling, being on their expense account, eating what everybody else was eating around me instead of controlling my own food and controlling my own destiny, I became really overweight. I became very sick very quickly, and I had to have, an organ taken out of my body.
Oh, my God.
And doctors will tell you, oh, appendicitis is very random. It can happen to anybody, but I don't believe that. Appendicitis happens when your stomach is inflamed from all the stuff that you've been eating or treating your body with. And unfortunately, a lot of people are eating these new industrial food-like substances that are causing this inflammation. And I definitely was a victim of that. And so I decided in that hospital room back in December of 2002, over 10 years ago now, that I I would take control of my own health. I would figure out what's in food, how to eat the best food possible. And what I found out was shocking. Not only did I find out that majority of our food is made with genetically engineered ingredients, never tested long-term on humans, but I found out that all of these substances that are really cheap for the food industry to use are pumped into all of our food. And so I started to reject that. I said, no more corn, no more soy. None of this GMO stuff. I'm going to eat organic food. I'm going to start going to farmers markets. I'm going to find out what these chemicals mean on the back of packages. And when I found out that things like yoga mat material are in there and things like high fructose corn syrup that, you know, they find mercury in, and how like there's all of these different additives that are used to create addiction to food, like hidden MSG, I knew I didn't need to eat that anymore. And so I shunned all of those brands and companies long ago. And when I did that, something remarkable happened. Not only did I lose weight, but I've been able to maintain a nice figure for a really long time, doing nothing but eating real food. And also, all of my health issues as a child and as an adult magically went away. Alex, I'm talking about being on 6 to 8 prescription drugs, depending upon the season, to being on 0 today. Being 10 years older and having less drugs as a 10 years older, and having more energy 10 years older than I did 10 years ago when I started figuring this stuff out. And when I did this, everyone around me, my friends, my family members, they wanted to know the secrets. And so I started to tell them what I learned, and they were shocked. They were downright, they couldn't believe the information I was giving them on a day-to-day basis as I was traveling with them, you know, whether it be coworkers or with friends or family or at my mom's house.
The truth is, they've grandfathered for 100 years. I know you're an expert on this, but we've had other experts on to speak about this. I don't get into beer. To be able to basically put drugs in the food. The additives are toxic. Many poisons are addictive. Aspartame, you name it, MSG. They are getting you trained to eat their processed food. And then they have, just like the tobacco companies, adding all these other chemicals to make it more addictive. It's just like tobacco companies, but with food. And right. and I've read the books, the documents, we've covered it, where they brag about that. I mean, as you know, Colonel Sanders made Kentucky Fried Chicken take over because he found out the Japanese military couldn't get Japanese back in World War I to eat the cruddy canned food because Japanese like good, fresh seafood. So they learned to put MSG in it. It's totally toxic and tricks the brain. He brought that here in the 20s. The next is history. There's thousands of things they're doing, and here you are exposing it. Let's start getting into beer. The big beer conspiracy.
You know, because I care about the ingredients I buy and I bring in my home, and you can see my refrigerator back behind me. The one thing I didn't know what was in my fridge, because I have a husband and he loves beer, was beer. Like, I would look at the label and I knew nothing about it. And I couldn't believe that I knew nothing about it. And so I started to ask questions. About 1.5 years ago, I started an investigation and I started asking the beer manufacturer questions about what's actually in their beer, what ingredients are allowed in beer. And when I found this book published called Chemical Additives in Beer, it's actually out of publishing. It was in 1982 that it was released. So it was so old, but it had this list of additives that are allowed in beer. Things like MSG, things like carrageenan, which is linked to intestinal information, high fructose corn syrup, caramel coloring level 4, which is considered a carcinogen in the state of California.
Yeah, the truth is Budweiser especially, and it's just beer flavoring, sugar, and some alcohol they squirt in it. A lot of these companies aren't even doing fermentation now. It's not beer.
Right. And they're not even using real hops either. One thing I found out that Miller Coors has patents on this thing called Tetra hops. It's a hop extract, so it's the minimum amount of hops they can possibly use in beer. And so, like, there are actually health benefits to eating hops, but they actually take all those out when they start using these extracts. And so there's all of this mystery behind what people are drinking, and people around the world, it's not just Americans, people around the world are blindly drinking beer. And so I wanted to start a petition. I launched it this morning at foodbabe.com/beer, and over 11,000 people have already signed it in less than 3 hours. This is a big, huge issue, and I'm opening up Pandora's box for these beer companies. It's a $100 billion industry, and I'm scared to death right now. You have to have a lot of courage to go up against the beer industry, but someone has to do it. We have to stop this lack of transparency. We have to increase the amount of information consumers have so they can say, you know what, Bud Light Lime has high fructose corn syrup. I'm not going to buy that anymore. I'm going to go to this craft brewer, or I'm going to go to this organic brewer and get something of quality to bring into my home and feed to my husband and my family.
And by the way, I mean, as we know, the micro brewers everywhere are now displacing, because people drink it and go, wow, this is beer, versus the toxic stuff that people are trained on. So beer drinkers have to get their friends off of the bad stuff. And just like you go to Target now, 5 years ago, all the ketchup, had fructose corn syrup in it. It had all the bad stuff. Now it openly, says organic. So it's across the board. We were getting the BPA out of the plastic. I think this is going to be even more explosive than your past operations. And I think we're going to force the big beer manufacturers to actually produce beer, because the corporate chiefs don't want to actually have to have brewmasters there and actually have to create good tasting beer. They want to just put a bunch of fake syrup together that tastes like beer with beer flavoring. We want real root beer with real sarsaparilla. We want real beer that actually, is organic and grows well. That's why they're losing such a market share. I saw the number that they've lost like 45%. Saw it in the Wall Street Journal last year in the U.S. of their market to micro and local brewers. The way they counter is to try to buy them up. But no, why don't the...
People realize those microbrewers taste better than the watered-down, sugary stuff that they're selling us in the typical most popular beers, it's really sad that, the most popular beers still continue to be Bud Light and Miller Lite, and it's because it's cheap. And people need to realize that because something cheap is cheap doesn't mean it's good and good for you, but they have such a huge marketing machine. I mean, just think about all the Super Bowl ads and everything else that they do on a normal basis to brainwash you into wanting these brands as Americans. And even people overseas, I don't know how many times I've traveled, Alex, and I come across someone that's from another country and they think it's cool to drink Budweiser. And I'm like, no, you need to be drinking the beer.
No, it's crazy. I see all the Mexican immigrants up here, and they're all getting Miller Lite and Budweiser. And I'm like, my God, this Mexican beer tastes light years better than the fake New World Order beer. But that's what they want. And then it gives you diabetes.
Yeah, one of the things I want to mention, you mentioned Mexico beer. Well, Corona was actually acquired by one of these big companies, and now they're using propylene glycol, something found in airplane de-icing liquid in Corona. So be aware of Corona.
Incredible. I don't like Corona. I used to taste good when I was in high school, and now it hadn't tasted good in a long time. I don't drink a lot of beer. I don't drink a lot anymore, but bottom line is that I got to tell you.
Alex, I think the most interesting part of this story is that right now the FDA does not regulate beer. The Treasury Department, who controls our taxes, is regulating one of the world's most popular drinks. I mean, it's third after water and soda.
Yeah, where's the FDA when they're harassing people that sell vitamin C pills and shutting them down? But then meanwhile, because the NFL's tax exempt, these big beer companies, they're all left alone because they're part of the control system.
Yeah, and it's really very shameful that the government has allowed this to happen this long. And I hope people support the petition, because I think if we can get millions of signatures, I really think this petition, if the companies don't act soon enough, I think this petition has will be bigger than Subway, in the respect that, in my other past efforts, because it's a global issue and it's something that's been, cloaked in secrecy for so long. And I hope people...
Don't we need German beer purity laws that they've had for 500 years? Because nothing's new under the sun. There's been scams going on. I mean, look at the jungle. What is it? T.S. Eliot, I believe the true story about the Rockefellers would put chalk in the milk, just like they do in China, or melamine, and then babies would die. These scams have been going on forever, and there should be state laws, I think, that if you false advertise and call something beer and it's not, you ought to get shut down. I mean, I'm sick of it. It's a fraud.
Yeah, it's an absolute fraud. I mean, the fact that high fructose corn syrup has any place in beer is just ludicrous. That caramel coloring, because they want to put caramel coloring in it because they don't want to spend the money on the right type of malt and the right type of hops, is a problem.
Upton Sinclair, sorry.
They're getting away with using these really cheap additives and calling it beer is a problem. And that's why I think this transparency is so important. Now, if you sign the petition at foodbabe.com/beer, Alex, I actually have a link to some beer approved, FoodBabe approved beers, if you will, that have actually released their ingredients. We're starting to catalog beer manufacturers that are upfront about their ingredients and upfront about all of their processing aids, like isinglass, which is a fish swim bladder, and carrageenan that can disrupt the intestinal tract.
Well, I'll say it bottom line. The bread and circus, gladiatorial events, sports, beer, it's all being used to control the population, and we need to get it to where it's unadulterated. Even if you're not a drinker, folks, you should not want fake beer being sold everywhere and these companies getting away with it. And this is a revolution, because this is pure Americana libertarian that the FoodBabe is talking about, where we vote with our dollars and we vote by the decisions we make in our life. This is the type of thing from the Second Amendment right through to national sovereignty, right through to globalism. Take your money away from the big establishment companies. That's why they've got initiatives to ban outdoor markets and all over the country, and to ban farmers markets and harass them with bureaucrats and inspectors, and to ban raw milk when it's so safe on record compared to regular boiled down fake milk that isn't even milk. It's like liquid cheese. It's so bad for your heart. On every front there. Forbes asked, why is there a war on lemonade stands nationwide? Because they don't want kids getting the idea. I mean, you never see watermelon stands because the state police go stop them and go, you can't be on the side of the road selling watermelons. I mean, they're shutting down normal human activity, folks, and creating a synthetic, artificial consciousness is what I would call it.
Yeah, and, the fact that we know more about what's in Windex and Coca-Cola than we do about beer just says it all. Like, it just says it all that, that basically no one's out there safeguarding our food supply, our drink supply. They're not looking out for our best.
Remember the freak out last year when we learned that something like 70% of the fish isn't even fish and is fake? And the whole pink slime thing a few years before that? What I'm saying here is this, from what I've read and what I knew years ago, but you're quantifying it and really stating how incredible it is and mounting an initiative against this fraud. This is not beer. When you got a bunch of extracts and corn syrup and beer flavor, that's not beer. And it's disgusting. Just like they put MSG in the Doritos to make you eat more, they put MSG in a lot of these other beers to make you drink too much too. I mean, you can't go out and drink 6 Grolsches that are, real thick German-style beer or Holland beer. But let me tell you, you can drink 6 Budweisers easy. So it's meant to be gluttonous and to program the brain as well.
Well, I cannot wait for these secrets to be revealed. I think these beer industry giants are going to be put under a lot of public pressure from not only you, Alex, and your program here, but I think the mainstream media is on this story right now. Just as I'm sitting here, the USA Today and Chicago Tribune and ABC News have released articles. And so this is something that's going to be a worldwide issue in 24 hours.
And you just launched this today or yesterday?
This morning, 3 hours ago.
My God, and you see, I mean, this is the power of the people. You're smart, you're intelligent, you're good looking, you're telling the truth, and with the power of the people, and with this broadcast as well, I'm very honored that you come here right up front. You are changing the world and forcing MSM to follow what you're doing. And I know we've gotten a few thousand extra signatures just now. Go to foodbabe.com, folks. Sign the petition. I should shoot a video after the show today where I sign it. And everybody should shoot a video where you sign it. And what you're pioneering here, this form of activism, can spread into every other issue. I want to come back and ask you in the final segment, because I know you're using some well-known PR tactics and things, but you've been so successful at it, how you came up with this particular deployment of truth journalism and activism and that transcends left to right, that is just about pro-human. I mean, you were just such an amazing pro-human individual, and I just bless your soul. We're going to be right back with the FoodBabe, foodbabe.com. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. Yes, Obama is moving towards gun confiscation and announcing it. There's some really bad things happening, but there's also some good things happening. By the way, folks, for detoxing, as I got off all the bad food and started trying to eat healthier the last few years, is key to get iodine. The bad halogen, the area in the halogen table, all the different bad halogens, the bromide, the bromide, the chlorine, that's in all the food and the water. The endocrine disruptors, what it does to your glands. Your thyroid needs the iodine, doesn't get it. and it needs the good pure iodine from the deep earth crystals that no one else has. We went out and secured not seaweed-based iodine, which is very valuable and needed. We have come out with the actual X2 from 7 to 12,000 feet mined here in the United States and put it into an organic palm oil base. We've got videos coming out that actually shows it being ignited, turning into the purple gas, the purple crystals. It's just simply amazing. In fact, guys, get it from Rob Dew. He showed it to me yesterday. They have the footage of it in the beaker. They put it on a hot plate, and it ignites. And it's actually the purple gas of only pure iodine. And then that is injected into the palm oil and mixed in a secret process. It's not secret anymore. Group's now shown the whole thing in this big stainless steel facility, Dr. Group. And you also then fund this operation when you buy the X2 Super Nascent Iodine or the original Survival Shield or any of the other great products at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. And please don't forget, for the next week or however long supplies last, we are going to give away free stainless steel stands, a $29 value, free with all ProPure water filtration systems, the best gravity-fed filters out there. 10% off with promo code WATER, already the lowest price. We're the biggest distributor in the world. Now you can get a free stainless steel stand on top of 10% off. That comes out to close to 20% off, ladies and gentlemen. Available right now. Well, it's even more on some of the inexpensive units. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. Vani, Hari, you get me so excited I run over you when you're on. But we'll get you back on in a week or so to see the effects of this. But tell us specifically how you've been so successful and hopefully how others can duplicate PR campaigns for liberty that really change the world. I mean, it's a big deal.
And, you know, it's so funny because I've had no media or PR training or anything like that. You know, I was a debater in high school that knew how to research. And so I've been able to use those skills in order to research this information. And so when I started to research this and started to put it on the blog, you know, what I found out very quickly is when you tell the truth, when you tell information that hasn't been told anywhere else, that when you discover new things about how companies are treating people or how they treat you when you call them, or how there's certain things that you wonder about, you wonder if other people are wondering about too. If you make those ideas known in a big way, whether it be, you know, your own Facebook page or on your own Twitter account, or maybe it's on your Instagram, like wherever where people like in the world can see this, it has the opportunity to get shared. And I think that's one of the most valuable lessons I learned early on, was when I started talking about the injustices within the food industry. People wanted to share this information. They wanted to not only safeguard themselves with the information I uncovered, but they wanted their friends and their family to know as well. And so these campaigns that I launch are specifically targeted to increase the amount of discourse we have in this country about food ingredients, about what's happening to the food supply, about the lack of transparency in these food and beverage companies.
Why are you being a conspiracy theorist? There's no additives in the food. Everything's fine.
You know, it's funny because, you know, I think our friend Mike Adams recently talked about how being a conspiracy theorist is actually a good thing, and not being one means you're pretty much dumb, because if you don't question things, you never really get down to the bottom.
Hey, I know you got to go. Can you do 5 more minutes with us in 1 minute? We'll find out during the break. Folks, third hour coming up. Gun confiscation news, all of it. I'm Alex Jones. Tell friends and family, tune in. Is she good? Come back, 5 more minutes? We'll find out in just a second. Good. Coming up in the next segment, the total collapse of our borders. Obama moves towards gun confiscation. He says he wants Australian-style actions. He said, I'll never come after your guns. Now he says, I want Australia-style. This is huge. Right now, let's go back to the FoodBabe, foodbabe.com. Other points that need to be said, because you were getting into the fact that it's good to be called a conspiracy theorist. That's like being called a heretic when, you know, people 500 years ago, 600